I'm live. Live there. All the good stuff. How's it going, everybody? Live. Hey, David. Oh, yes. Join in, Allie. Caroline, how are you doing? Hey.
Hello.
Now my camera's like, I'm too far. I'm close.
Oh.
Whatever. It's all good. Awesome. Oh yeah, I gotta bring it up on my phone so I can see all you people. How we doing, everybody? Suffocating Shark, Caleb is here. And Caroline, yes, I understand that. There's a lot of people that are feeling the same thing.
Oh, hey David, what's up?
David, and you're really bored. Caroline, what are you doing to keep busy? And also, what are you doing on Mondays? Because we've been meeting on Zoom. I'm calling you out.
Caroline just got called out.
Yeah.
Very tough.
Oh, October, you were there on Monday.
Hey, you can put on some filters, Josh.
I can put on filters? How do I do that?
It says filters on it. Or it's a little face.
It's the face?
Yeah.
Oh, there's the face. Okay. What should I do? This one looks interesting. Oh, wait.
Oh, my word. What happened to me?
I don't...
Ooh.
Oh, there we go. Woo!
Been watching Criminal Minds.
I know. If you're on YouTube, I'm sorry, but I'm having some entertaining... I'm having some fun. Ooh, we're like in the Twilight Zone. I kind of like that. Yeah.
Oh. That's tough.
Awesome.
Courtney, what have you been doing, huh? Tell me. Hey, Jonathan.
Oh.
David is watching on both again.
David is hey. Ooh, can I say something? Let's say something. David, you're super cool. You have choir Zoom calls on Monday. Wait, what is a choir Zoom call? Does that mean you have to sing? I've seen videos of choirs like singing together. And David is an overachiever, for sure. But hopefully you guys aren't too bored out there.
Josh, do you have any jokes yet?
I have a joke. I looked one up because it's April Fool's Day. I don't know if anyone knew this.
Good job.
So I did some research. They might not be very good, but yeah, that's so cool, Caroline. I hope that we get to see it maybe, because I think that'd be really cool. Okay, joke for you all in YouTube land, Instagram land, Alley land. What do you call a boomerang that doesn't work?
A stick.
What do you call? Nice.
It's not a stick?
It's, well, I'm waiting to see if anyone else is gonna maybe.
Think. Oh, Benji.
Benji's, okay.
And Faye.
Yeah, and Faye, yeah, and Christy. A boomerang? Oh man, I wish that was the answer.
Boomerang, very good, Michael Wilson. Everything is a boomerang if you throw it straight up.
Yeah.
Really, Benji? Bad.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
But yes, the answer is a stick.
Oh, really? Yes.
So yes, you got it right. Do you have a joke? Did you do any research?
Okay, well, today on my story I put anybody have any good jokes, and some of them were just not that good. Some of them were okay, but Someone told me IDK as one of the jokes. Someone said online classes. Okay, really useless. Someone said 2020. That's sad.
Oh.
And then the most recent one said, hey, it said, my friend said to me, what rhymes with orange? And I said, no, it doesn't. Everybody tries to get you with the orange jokes.
Yeah.
Zach, good to see you.
Zach.
Ronnie, what are you doing here? Silly.
Ooh. What's the difference between a catfish and a lawyer? Addie's here.
What's the difference between a catfish and a lawyer? I don't know. What is it? Okay, and why did the chicken cross the playground? So he could get on the monkey bars.
So he gets social distance from all the other chickens.
Oh, that's kind of good.
That's my...
Benji, tell me why. I need to know.
We got people on YouTube. I know it's just me in my office. You guys get just get me. I hope you can maybe hear Allie at least a little bit.
Once a scout. Oh my word! You're silly, Benji.
Aww. I hope no one. Well, do you know any lawyers? Are they all that way? Are you profiling?
Silly. I still liked my joke about a burnt rodent and a handsome
actor.
Movies,
Yeah, movie star.
Oh, get to the other slide. That's good.
Oh, whoa, yeah.
I did not know. That's a good joke.
All right, I got one more. Because again, I told you I did research. So, why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Why? I'll let people in Instagram and YouTube world, if you want to answer too, why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Good guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else know?
Anybody?
I don't know.
Why did he win an award? See.
So, Caroline, why don't you say it? Nobody else knows. Come on, Caroline. He was outstanding in this field. Oh my word, Benji. Did you know this or did you put this up?
Was the yeah. All right, people are getting it. Yep.
Very good.
Whew. You guys have heard these before. First, oh well. Fantastic. Well, I'm glad you guys are joining us tonight. It's a good Wednesday evening. Hope your week's call it a tie. Yeah, call it a tie.
Good job, David. You got it too. Very good.
Awesome. Well, we are glad that you are joining us. Elijah? Who's that? Is that?
Elijah's from my college.
It's from your. Oh, okay. Again, Allie, it just promotes that you're famous.
Yeah.
And Olivia, how you doing? How's your week going? All my jokes, they're all gone now. So, I hope that you're all having a good week. We have been. Must be more people that are connected to you. Is that? You know? All right, people just join it. I like it. Anyway, let's get this party started with this April Fool's stream for Engage. And there's no fooling that we are here, but we have a couple of announcements. Hey, Pam and Nia, glad you guys are here. And Sketchy Otter, so glad you guys are here. A couple of announcements for you all. So I don't know who is watching, but this past Monday and again the one day before that, we had some Zoom meetings. So we are going to do that pretty regularly with students. So if you are in high school and you are watching, we do our Zoom meetings on Mondays from 3:30 to 4. And if you're in middle We have our meetings from 4:15 to 4:45 on Mondays. And so information for that gets sent out in our email every Monday. And so if you want to be involved in that, it's been a great time just to kind of hang out and get encouragement. We might answer that at the end, Benji. But yeah, so join our Zoom calls on Mondays. They're just a great chance for us to connect and encourage each other. And we're going to start doing some Bible studies through that. So if you're available on Monday, in high school, 3:30 to 4, and middle school, 4:15 to 4:45, we'd ask that you join us. Moving on, though, I know, again, we were not here last week, but things are back to normal. And so this Sunday, we will be back on Instagram and YouTube, continuing to stream from the joys of our homes. Again, my lovely home office with all of the nice books you see right here.
And my nice closet.
And nice closet, yes. I might need to turn on the lights. It's about to get dark. And so, yeah, we will be back on the Sunday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. So if you are available Sunday morning, just come on out and join us as well. I'd love to see you. I'd like to say hi. And then finally, our final announcement is that, again, we announced on Sunday that for those of you high schoolers that were thinking about going on a mission trip, unfortunately, with the border being closed, we just had to change our mission trip plans, and we're not going to be able to go to Mexico this summer. So we are working hard to find out some other options, but again, it's kind of up in the air when options will be open to us. And so as we get more information, we will let you guys know. But we just wanted to let you know that if you were interested in going, which is not an option, if you're already signed up, we will get you a refund of the deposit. So those are the announcements that I got. Any announcements in the Alley world? No announcements. No announcements. Awesome. With that, I would like us to do a little bit of worship. And so I've done a little bit. I might need to turn on a light just so I can see things better. Hang on. Now that I don't have the sun blaring at me, maybe I can.
Hi, Michaela.
Michaela! I don't know. I'm just saying hi to people. So yeah, we're going to sing a couple songs for worship. Just because we're separated doesn't mean that we have to stop worshiping. And so we're going to sing two songs today. The first is a song that we sang about 2 weeks ago for Sunday, and it was a good one that I was thinking about as we get into maybe our lesson for tonight, because that's the other thing is that as we do worship, if you have a Bible next to you, around you, this would also be a really good time to get a Bible, because right after this we will be jumping into the Bible for a little bit of study. So the first song that we're going to sing is a song called Nothing I Hold On To. Like I said, we sang it a few weeks ago, but it's a good reminder that we don't really lean on our own understanding, but that we lean on God and his understanding. So I hope that you would join along. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the Lord of heaven. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the Lord of heaven. I give it all to you, God, trusting that you'll make something beautiful of me. I give it all to you, God, trusting that you'll make something beautiful out of me. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. There's nothing I hold on to. 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 I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of heaven. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of heaven. I give it all to you, God, trusting that you'll make something beautiful of me. I give it all to you, God, trusting that you'll make something beautiful out of me. Yeah, it's good to know that we can trust in God. One more song, and it's How Deep the Father's Love for Us. And again, it kind of harkens again on this idea that we're going to trust in God, but that we don't trust in the God that's powerless, but that is, we trust in the God that deeply loves us. And so as we sing this next song, as you reflect on some of the words that we sing, just really, really reflect on that idea that God loves you. Even in the midst of everything that's going on, God still cares for you. And so that's the song we're going to sing next. As I my voice ready. Yep. Let's make sure we can sing in the right key. All right. How deep the Father's love for us. How deep the Father's love for us. How vast beyond all measure. That He should give His only Son to make a wretch His treasure. How great the pain of searing loss, the Father turns His face away. As wounds which mar the chosen one, bring many sons to glory. Behold the man upon a cross, my sin upon His shoulder. Ashamed I hear my mocking voice call out upon the scoffer. It was my sin that held Him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. I will not boast in anything, no gifts, no power, no wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, His death and resurrection. Why should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer. this I know with all my heart. His wounds have paid my ransom. Why should I gain from his reward? I cannot give an answer. But this I know with all my heart. His wounds have paid my ransom. All right. Well, thanks for joining in for worship. I saw a few people kind of joining on in. But yeah, awesome. It's good to, again, worship together. And good that just because we're apart from each other, it doesn't mean that we can't stop worshiping God. And so as we dive in, again, this would be a chance for you to open up your Bibles. We are going to actually start on Wednesdays. I know that we were kind of doing some separate stuff for middle school and high school, but Allie and I were talking about maybe some things that might be really helpful for you. And so if you have your Bibles, I would encourage you to open them to Jonah chapter 1. And if you don't know where Jonah is, it's in the Old Testament. It's a very small book because it's only 4 chapters long. But we're going to spend the next 4 weeks talking about the book of Jonah. And so it's going to be, again, in the Old Testament. Maybe I might have to look up where it is, but go to Jonah chapter 1. And it basically just tells us of the prophet Jonah, whose name literally means dove. Okay. Now, some of you, when I say the word dove, it immediately, like when I hear that word, it harkens me back to a particular story of Noah and the ark. Okay, because you might remember that when Noah was in the ark and the floodwaters came, basically after 40 days, he sent out some birds to test out and see if there was anything living, if the water was still rising or if it was receded. And so basically he sends out a dove, and the dove comes back with a branch. Basically, it's a symbol that the waters were going down and that it was possible for them to leave the ark. That their trial was over. And so as we're listening, going through this story, there's lots of different themes that are involved with the book of Jonah, but I just was really struck by that maybe by the end of this 4 weeks, we might actually get a better sense of some hope at the end of this, even in our own lives with being in quarantine or social distancing. Maybe that olive branch, that thing that the dove brings to us, studying the book of Jonah, once we're done, we might be able to see light at the end of the tunnel. That the waters are going down and that our quarantine is over. So who knows? And so some of the themes that this book covers are things like disappointment, running away, disobedience versus obedience, and maybe managing our own expectations of what happens. And maybe some of those, as I've been saying those things, you can maybe familiarize yourself with that, empathize with that, because maybe you're feeling those same things in your own life. And so over the next 4 weeks, like I said, we're going to be exploring these things and others as we dive into the book of Jonah. And so, Allie, we're just going to read the whole chapter 1 right now, and then we'll dive in a little bit more in depth into it afterwards. So, Allie, take it away.
Yes. So make sure you're at Jonah 1 and read along with me. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, my great city, and call out against it, for their evil has come up before me. But Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish, from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. The Lord hurled a great wind upon the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship threatened to break up. Then the mariners were afraid, and each cried out to his God, and they hurled the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten it for them. But Jonah had gone down into the inner part of the ship, and had lain down and was fast asleep. So the captain came and said to him, What do you mean, you sleeper? Arise, call out to your God. Perhaps the God will give a thought to us that we may not perish. And they said to one another, Come, let us cast lots, that we may know on whose account this evil has come upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, Tell us on whose account this evil has come upon us. What is your occupation, and where do you come from? What is your country, and of what people are you? And he said to them, I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, What is this that you have done? For the men knew that he was fleeing from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then they said to him, What shall we do to you so that the sea may quiet down for us? For the sea grew more and more tempestuous. He said to them, Pick me up and hurl me into the sea. Then the sea will quiet down for you. For I know it is because of me that this great tempest has come upon you. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to get back to dry land, but they could not. For the sea grew more and more tempestuous against them. Therefore they called out to the Lord, O Lord, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not on us innocent blood. For you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you. So they picked up Jonah and hurled him into the sea, and the sea ceased from its raging. And the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows. And the Lord appointed a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. And I hope you're following along, because there's a lot to unpack there. Like Jonah, chapter 1 just begins with so many different things that we can talk about. But I want to focus on, for me, verses 3 and 4 for a moment. But verses 3 and 4, it says this. It says, But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. And after paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. Verse 3 tells us of Jonah's attempt to run away from God, to get away from God. And it gives us kind of the consequences of that attempt. I mean, Jonah literally fled in the opposite direction from where God wanted him to go. So if you know sort of the geography, basically where Nineveh was northeast of Jerusalem and where Israel was. And Tarshish was basically southwest. Like he was literally going in the wrong direction. And so when I asked myself the question, was Jonah able to escape from God? The answer is no. And we see that in verse 4 because God sends a wind on the sea. And that's kind of the main point of what I would like to focus on for tonight, for Jonah chapter 1, because there's lots of different things we can pull from. But the main point that I really pull out from this is that no matter where we go, and no matter where we are, we cannot escape from God or from the love that he has for us. I want to say that again, is that no matter where we go or no matter where we are, we cannot escape from God and the love he has for us. It's kind of like there's a lot of things that you really can't escape from in your life, but one of the big ones in our lives is gravity, right? All of us are affected by gravity. If I hold up this computer mouse, right, you can see that. If I've dropped the computer mouse, you can see that I can catch it. If I didn't catch it, it would hit the ground, and I didn't want it to break. But we are bound by this invisible force called gravity. If I jump into the air, but I'm not going to do that because I'm a third story and I don't want to scare my wife, but if I jump up in the air, I'm not going to float up and hit the ceiling because gravity is going to hold me down, right? It's the same is true for us and for God when it comes to being in his presence, because we are always surrounded by God, and there's no place that you can go on earth, again, I say on earth, that we can escape gravity, right? The only place on earth that we could escape it is not on earth, it'd be up in the atmosphere. But there's no place that you can go on earth to escape gravity, just like there's no place you can go on earth to escape from God's love. And so it's important for us to realize that as we enter into this season kind of quarantine and social distancing, you might feel more distant from other people, maybe more distant than you've ever felt before, but don't ever feel like you are beyond the presence of God, right? Because that's what Jonah was trying to get away from. He was trying to get away from being obedient and try to get away from God, but he couldn't. And it reminds me of another verse. It's from Psalms 139, verses 7 to 10. It says this. It says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me and your right hand will hold me fast." I believe that the words of this psalm can be an encouragement for me and for you as we kind of again reconcile this fact of maybe we are not around each other as often, but we are not in the presence or not without the presence of God. Right? He is still present with us. He has not abandoned us, just like he didn't abandon Jonah. And even as I sit here in a state of social distancing, I'm temporarily isolated from my friends and from you, from our leaders and all that. I know that this is going to be a season that ends. It's not a permanent season in our lives. But that I do also know that there's one very important thing that's connecting all of us together, even though we're not in the same room anymore, and that's God. It's an important thing to know. So I want to kind of end by kind of referring to today's daily devotional, because again, if you some of you have talked about how you have some really good devotional times in your lives, or in your daily routine. But if you don't, again, we have a daily devotional online resource that we have available for you. And I think today's was actually really inspiring for me. And so I want to share that. It basically references Psalm 1:3. And it says that person is like a tree planted by streams of water. Again, they're talking about a faithful person, a person who is not going to give up on God. So it says that person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. And so my question for you all watching right now on YouTube and Instagram is really this question of, are you thriving during this time? Are you thriving? And when I say thriving, it's like, it's kind of defining it as learning and growing and deepening your relationship with God and finding some area for your life to have joy, right? Are you thriving in this time, or do you feel like you're kind of withering? Because I understand that this can be tempting for us to kind of give up and not focus on deepening our relationship with God, because, I mean, you're not going to church every week. You're not going to be around friends who are going to ask you about this, right? No one's going to watch you to do this except for you and God. And so it can be easy to let this part of your daily routine, part of your life kind of slip away. But I would encourage you not to be like Jonah. Don't try to run away from this, because this is a time where you can really deepen your relationship. You can really start thriving in your life, even if you can't go outside regularly or do the things you normally did. And maybe a way to thrive during this time is to plant yourself in your relationship with God. Like this psalm says, a life planted in God prospers. A tree planted by streams of water prospers. And so where are you getting your life from? Are you getting it from video games or from social interaction? Because whatever those things, if it's not God, chances are your life might start to wither because you don't have the things that you really need for a fulfilling life. And so when your foundation in your life is God and in his word, then no matter what things you go through, no matter what happens, it says, like, again, you're a tree by water, and you're being watered by the things that you need to really thrive, and you'll prosper. It's my belief that God still has really good things in store for all of us. That this is not the end of our lives, and so we will see, or God will see us through this time. He will give us the strength to make it through, and again remind you that he loves you. And so if you stay close to him, you'll come out of this better than before. And so I hope that you would be encouraged by this. Stay close to God by diving into his word, and keep yourself planted, and you won't find yourself kind of running away like Jonah did. Because again, that was what happened to him. But again, it's great and encouraging to know that just because he ran away from God doesn't mean that God ran away from him. So that's my little bit of encouragement for you. And then Allie can talk about something.
Yeah. So as I was reading through Jonah, preparing for this, I just wrote notes on whatever, and I love what Josh talked about, because that was something that really stood out to me. Jonah goes through all of these means and methods in order to run away from God and escape what God has called him to do. The very first verse says, "Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah," and how unique it is. We always are so curious about how to hear God's voice and how to hear things from the Lord. And once Jonah received this, the first thing that he did was flee from it, because of how hard it was going to be, or because of the situation, whatever it is. How often do we do that? If we are curious about and we want to hear from the Lord, and then he speaks to us, are we listening, and are we ready to faithfully obey whatever he says? But lucky for us, or maybe unlucky for us, God doesn't leave when we flee. He's there no matter what. And something else that stood out to me is the whole situation with the mariners, that Jonah he's on the boat with them. And all of these things, as they begin to see the winds and the storms around them rage, the situation gets dangerous. And they're all calling out to God. They're doing whatever they can to try and figure out why is the situation so bad, and what can we do to make it better, and calling out for help. And Jonah is the only one around verse 5 and 6. He's the only one who had gone down to go sleep. And everybody else is frantically searching for what to do. And the captain comes to him and says, "What do you mean, you sleeper? Arise, call out to your God." And Jonah, he's the one with the problem. He's the one who heard from the Lord and didn't obey. And because of this, the situation has become dangerous and bad. But he's the only one sleeping. He's the only one not faithfully obeying and faithfully doing what he should, calling out for help from his God. And then once they cast lots and they realize, okay, Jonah, this is actually your fault, they ask him, "Who are you? Where are you from?" And he says, "I'm a Hebrew. I fear the Lord, the God of heaven." But then they realize all these things. And verse 10, the end of verse 10 says, "For the men knew that he was fleeing from the presence of the Lord because of all this that he had told them." And this stuck out to me a lot, because he is supposed to fear the Lord, the God of heaven, the God of everything, our God of creation. And he tells them this, but his actions are very hypocritical, and these people that he's with can tell that something is wrong. They can tell that he's fleeing from God, not only because he was sleeping in the boat when he had been calling out for help, but because of all of his other actions. And if you guys were there, I don't remember when I gave this message, but to the high schoolers, I gave this message about the nature of sin one Sunday morning, and how I shared with them the first time I remembered why. And it was when I sat on Play-Doh on my couch, and it got stuck to my pajama pants and on the couch. And I decided I was going to try and cover it up, and didn't tell my mom, because I know she'd be mad. But because I lied about it, everywhere I went throughout that day, it got the Play-Doh on everything else, and my sin rubbed off. If we're applying it then to God, if I hide my sin and I just leave it there, everyone that I brush up against, everywhere I put myself, my sin sort of goes there, and people can tell. It's obvious because the Play-Doh was stuck to my butt. So that applies to our sin as well. When we're covering it up, when we're actively disobeying, the people around us are able to see that. And just like we say, if you live your life for God, if you're living differently, if you have joy in all circumstances, that is something that isn't normal to the world. Or, if you're still, if you're still joyful, if you're still praising God in times of despair, they look different. Praising in happy times and praising in sorrowful times, they look different. But if you're still praising God, that is very different than what the world would do in times of sadness versus in times of happiness. And so the world will notice when we obey God and we live differently. But the reverse is also true, and we see this in Jonah's story, that if we say we're living this life for God, we say we're pursuing Him and we fear the Lord, the God of heaven. But if our lives don't match up to that and our actions don't speak this, then people will notice as well. And it's just sort of a harsh encouragement, but like a question that I want us to wrestle with, especially during this time where the world is feeling chaotic, the world is scrambling in different situations. What do our actions say about our relationship with the Lord?
Mm-hmm.
Are we sitting in our rooms? Are we moping around, falling into bad habits? Are we not spending time with God, not in the Word, not praying? Because people will be able to tell that we look like just the world around us. And even though we claim to have hope, we claim to have peace and all of these things in the Lord, our actions, are they matching up to that or are they not? Or, as I keep saying on these live streams, are we taking this time of extra rest, extra free time? Maybe some of us are still very busy, but we have time where we're sitting in our rooms in our houses. Are we taking that time in order to grow our relationship with the Lord so that we can live differently than the world around us, even in this time where it will be very, very easy for us to just fall into bad habits, become lazy, become disconnected with our communities, with our small groups, with our leaders, all of these things, and with God most importantly. But I want us to not fall into the temptation that Jonah did in the story and claim that we fear God, claim that we love the Lord, but be asleep in the middle of a storm. I don't want us to be asleep, but I want us to call out to our God and have lives that actively show that is our relationship with the Lord.
Yeah. So again, a lot of things that are really very important to our continual life with God is, again, this idea that through the life of Jonah, we got to see him try to run away. We got to see a lot of the negative impacts because of that. And as we explore this over the next couple weeks, I just love how chapter 1 ends, because it ends on like such a cliffhanger. Like if this was a TV show, like this would be how like an episode would end for sure. Because it says the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, and he was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights. And you're like, what? It's like a little unbelievable, but it also points to God providing. So again, these themes of God always being there, but it's up to us to really take advantage of this time, as Ali said. And so that's my encouragement for you to go forward. And so again, we want to use this time effectively. We want to use this time to again, further deep into the things that really matter the most. And I'm not trying to say school isn't important. I'm not trying to say that being with your friends is not important, but those things are all really good things in our lives. But again, if we're going to talk about true joy and true fulfillment and true relationship with God, like that's the thing that really takes effort to do. And so our encouragement is that, again, you would use this time well and not follow Jonah's initial response of trying to run away or trying to let things slip in his life. And so as we move forward, we want to have a time of prayer where we continue to pray for you and for what's going on in our world. So again, if you have anything that you would specifically like us to be praying for, again, you can write it in either of the YouTube or Instagram chat feeds, whatever you call them. But yeah, we want to continue to support you that way. And maybe while you're typing those things, I just kind of want to remind you of a few things that are helpful, because again, if we are meeting together regularly, it helps us to support one another. So like I said, our Zoom meetings happen on Mondays, and that's a good time for us to connect with one another. Oh, Allie's messing with I want to do that. I want to do that too. I want to go back to that soup. Yeah, this one. I like that one. That one was cool. Yeah. But yeah, we want to continue to stay connected, to deepen our relationship with each other. And so yes, if you have anything you'd specifically like us to pray for, you can type it in now. Otherwise, that's my other thing, is that as we study the book of Jonah, this would also be a great thing for you to study this week. At some point, we're going to look at chapter 2 next week. And so read Jonah chapter 2 at some point this next week. Figure out what Jonah's response is going to be as he's sitting in the middle of this fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Yeah. And very cool. Anyway. That
was like the Chuck E. Cheese photo filter.
Yeah. Yes, Caroline, we can absolutely. Patience.
I have a prayer request. For school, we got like our decisions of things that we applied for this past week, and so we have to make a decision about. I got offered 2 positions, but you can only choose one of them. So I have to make a decision of what will be like best for me in order to fulfill what God wants me to do on campus, and what I'll be able to do well. So I have to make that decision by Friday. Very good.
Yeah. Well, again, it's good to hear like good news in the midst of like all this.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anything else out there that we can be praying for?
The Connor family, any prayer requests?
I know. They're still watching.
Michael Gorski, Faye, Steph. I'm reading all you guys. I'm calling you out. Sierra, Ivan, Benji, Olivia. Very good. I called you out, so I'm ready now. History Day results are coming next week. What is History Day results? Yeah, so Olivia, everyone just stay healthy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go turn on a light. So it's a little dark in here, I realize.
What up, y'all? Connor family, very good. I miss you all.
Now I'm gonna be incredibly backlit, but that's cool. It's like a weird lens flare happening on YouTube. It's just for you, YouTube.
Motivation. Okay, Caroline, I guess. Okay, the Vygotsky will descend shown signs of coronavirus. COVID-19. We don't want that. My brother's roommate tested positive for COVID. He's in the hospital. Okay, Benji's brother's roommate. Christian, the extroverts who miss everybody. Yeah, today I'm sitting on my lawn and I saw another high school friend and they, but it's sad because I don't get to see any other friends. That was not a very good story, but kind of
Awesome.
Hello, Lauren Taylor. Okay.
Well, Allie, would you start us, and then I was writing down all those requests.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. All right. Dear Lord, thank you so much again for this continued opportunity to still have some sort of community in a time where we cannot physically be together. I thank you for the opportunity to read the Bible, to read different stories, different people from history and the things that you taught them. I pray that you would encourage all of us this week to be engaged in your word, engaged in prayer, and strengthening our relationships with you. And I pray that we would not begin to look more like the world and not be conformed to the world in this time, but we would continue to have outstanding relationships with you that make people question how we have such joy and peace in times of chaos. I pray for all of the families here that you continue to strengthen relationships with our families and bless our households as we're all cooped up inside. I pray that you would strengthen families so that when we get out of this, we would have better bonds with them than ever before. I pray for all of our hearts that you give us peace in a time of chaos.
And yes, Lord, I thank you for tonight. I thank you for just technology and how it can still bring us together even when we're not physically present. And like I said, I'm just grateful that we have a space where we can still worship you freely. And I do not take that for granted, God, because I know that that is not available all over the world. So I pray for all of our brothers and sisters who are facing this coronavirus all over the world, how it's affecting businesses and countries and just people. I pray that this would be something that would bring us together, that would bring true unity together that has not been seen for a long time, God. So would you help with that? I pray for Caroline, just that we can get back to a normal life soon, and that this thing would kind of end quickly so that we can get back to our school routines and sports routines and band routines and choir routines, all of those things, God. I pray that that would just be able to come back soon. And I also, again, I just pray that we would have patience to work through this, God. Send a spirit of not of fear, but that you would send a spirit of self-control and discipline in our lives, God. And I just pray for all the school results that are coming back in. Again, I just pray that those go well and that there's a lot of grace happening as assignments are being completed and turned in from a distance. Pray for Courtney that, and just I echo her prayer that we would all just have patience in this time. Help us to be understanding and caring, and like Ali said, help us to show that we are your disciples by how we act towards one another. Help us to show care and compassion to our neighbors and to all those that we will interact with. Help us to reflect your light and love into this world, and let people know that we are doing something different because we know you and have a relationship with you. I pray along with Olivia that we all stay healthy. Please just boost immune systems and help us to continue to stay healthy in this time. I pray for Paige and having motivation just to do the work that it needs to get done as we're kind of forced to have the self-motivation. I know that that's difficult. It's difficult for me, and so I pray for those students that find it hard to have that. So pray for Paige. I pray for Christy and all the other extroverts in the world that are maybe feeling it just by not being able to have that interaction that they so desperately need. I pray that that can come through virtual means or just find other sources of little sources of encouragement that can be done so that those that really have a value or really value human connection can really thrive in this time. I pray for Mr. Gorski and for his son. Just pray that you would bring healing there and that this would not be something that would just be or that would lead to further negative symptoms. I just pray that this can pass quickly and that you can bring healing in his life and help him to just stay safe during this time. I pray for Benji and his brother's roommates that might be experiencing or showing coronavirus symptoms. Again, be with him in that situation and help those working with those two guys to know how to do the right things so that this won't spread any further. And then finally, I echo Gina's big prayer, the big prayer that we all really think are asking, that this would just go away, that we would be able to just, again, move past this quickly, that this would not have any more negative impact. But nevertheless, this doesn't inhibit our ability to have faith in you, God. And so I echo all these prayer requests. I pray that you'd be with us, encouraging us this week and helping us to really thrive as we continue to follow after you. And so I just lift up all these prayer requests, both spoken and unspoken. Be with us this week, encourage us, support us, give us hope and joy this next week. And I ask for all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, like I said, we've got a lot of other ways for you to interact with us. We'll be back on Sunday at 9 a.m. To continue to do all this fun stuff. So we hope that you join us there. And then again for Monday with our Zoom meetings and all that fun stuff. So I think that's all I got.
Yes, love you guys.
Yes.
We Hope to see you soon.
Love you. Hope you stay safe. Stay motivated.